All right. While you're putting that in the chat and Gregory is collating those, let me scan through.
Someone asked for a breakdown of Galatians 5:17, but that's very technical in my opinion.
I don't even know off the top of my head what Galatians 5:17 is.
Human desires, the struggle of human desires versus what the Spirit wants.
I'd actually, hold on. We can go through that. Let's put my, if you can, while you're collating the names, if you can put my screen share back up.
Oops, wrong screen.
Oh wait, do you have the actual, what the actual question said?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't see it.
Hold on. I'm gonna kill me from here.
If it's too technical, I may not be able to answer off the cuff. But we can at least look at it. This is on screen. Let me turn my highlighter on. Okay, can you break down Galatians 5:17? Does it mean an ongoing struggle with our human desires versus what the Spirit wants, or is it referring to the struggle of keeping the law versus living in grace? Okay, yeah, if you can drop that question off the screen, Gregory. I will say, so Galatians 5, we have here, again, Greek on this side, English here. I've just put up NIV. And so Paul says, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. Do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, the sarx. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. It's a quote from Leviticus, by the way. Leviticus is the book that Christians don't always read, but should. And this is one of the reasons why. So the whole law summed up, and in context of how you're dealing with one another, the entire law is fulfilled, keeping this command: love your neighbor as yourself. So verse 15, you Galatians, Paul saying, if you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you'll be destroyed by each other. Like, you should be building each other up, not biting, attacking, and devouring. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what's contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They're in conflict with each other, so that you're not to do whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. The questions, I won't weigh in heavily because I haven't taught Galatians in years, and there are different interpretations for these. But the kind of questions you would need to ask as you're studying this, that's what we'll do, is when Paul says, first of all, for the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. Is that how it should be translated, or should it be translated so that you do not do whatever you want? And I'm trying to, my coordinates doesn't always scroll as fast. So this, so that not, there's the word right here in Greek. So poete. So that you're not doing what you want. The question is, like, is he saying, is this, how do I say this in English? So that you are not to do what you want, or so that you are not doing what you want? In other words, is Paul saying, for the flesh desire, let me pull up another because I know the old NIV said it differently. I believe. Yeah. So here you can compare the two. This is on the left is the updated NIV, and on the right, this is the newer NIV 2011. This is the 1984. So 1984 said, for the sinful nature desires what's contrary to the Spirit. And so there's a change already. The old NIV translated sarx as sinful nature. The new NIV, I think rightly, went back to what Paul actually uses. He uses this word sarx, which means flesh or meat or body. So the old NIV, for the sinful nature desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the sarx. They are in conflict with each other so that you do not do what you want. So this is how this is rendered, so that you do not do what you want. The New NIV says they are in conflict with each other so that you are not to do whatever you want. So it's like a command, like you're not to do, because whatever you want, like do whatever you want means you don't obey any law. You're a law unto yourself. Do whatever you want, whatever the flesh wants, give the flesh what it wants. And Paul's saying, no, you have the Spirit, and the Spirit is in conflict with the flesh because the flesh is fallen. This world is fallen. And so the Spirit is what's guiding you to walk in the Spirit, not walking in the flesh. So if you're walking in the Spirit, you can't do whatever you want. You have to live according to the Spirit, and you should live and exhibit the fruit of the Spirit. The older translation kind of leaves it with this conundrum. They are in conflict with each other so that you do not do what you want. And this would seem to say, yeah, no matter what you want to do, no matter how much you want to walk in the Spirit, you're not going to do what you want. Like you'll never, this kind of goes along with a view that holiness is an ideal, but it's not attainable. The updated NIV, I think, reflects that holiness is not just an ideal, it's actually what should characterize our lives. We had Dr. Matt O'Reilly on 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we talked about his book, Free to Be Holy, and all about biblical holiness. And this is one of the passages that plays heavily into your view of holiness. That's how, these are kind of the questions that you would have to figure out. Which of these translations do you think makes more sense contextually? Obviously, you would need to compare, like if you can't read this Greek and you can't make that decision on your own, then you would need to compare translations, look at the Net Bible Notes, for instance, look at the different translations, and then go to some of the commentaries, just like we did with the Corinthians passage, and see what they have to say with that. I would recommend our friend, Dr. David De Silva. He has a commentary on Galatians. N.T. Wright has a good commentary on Galatians, and Nijay Gupta, my friend Nijay, has, I think it's like right, it's just out of reach. But so there are many good commentaries on Galatians that you can take a look at and see how they wrestle with this.
Can I give a non-scholarly approach to this as well, if it's okay with you, Jam?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I've heard this push. I'm not a scholar. I consider JM a scholar. I'm definitely not a scholar. Dr. Middleton obviously is a big time scholar. So is Dr. Rhymes, et cetera, et cetera.
He's the real deal.
But a lot of times the pushback I hear when I'm talking to people like myself, lay people, dude, I can't buy a commentary for every book in the Bible that I'm reading. Like it's cost prohibitive. So if you can't get every perfect commentary for every book by, your favorite authors, at the bare minimum, go to a site like Bible Gateway and read the same. Obviously, you're reading the context first, so you know what it's about. You get something like the Cultural Background Study Bible or the Archaeological Study Bible, any of the good Bibles the study Bibles that JM reviews, just get one of them. So you get the background and, okay, this is what the book is about. This is the context for the book. And then read the verse in multiple translations. At a bare minimum, do that. You don't want to get lost in, I'm going to only read it in X translation. You want to see the tension between how the different translations struggled with translating it and what their opinions were. And then you can land somewhere, at least with some knowledge of, well, one looked at it this way, the other one looked at it this way, the third one looked at it this way. I know the context of the book or the chapter is XYZ from my study Bible. Therefore, now I have a better understanding of it. That if you don't have the resources or the time to just get every commentary, that's the approach that I use often as well.
Yes, that's the beginning. That's what you should do first, is compare translations. And there's no excuse not to. If you're watching this, that means you have access to the internet. And if you have access to the internet, you have access to stepbible.org, STEP. You have access to Bible Gateway. You have access to Bible Hub. You have access to biblia.com. You have access to, I can't even think off the top of my head. There are so many where you can compare all these translations. And you can do just what Gregory just said. Also, and here's the thing, let me key in on this. I have this in my library. Like I can pull up a number of commentaries because I do this for a living. Like this is what I do, is study the Bible and teach the Bible for a living. With any field, what other field would you be expected to have all the information for yourself? If you had a question about law or medicine, you wouldn't, I got to go buy this law book. No, you would go to a lawyer. You would go to a doctor. You would go to people. So the thing that drives me crazy about Christianity sometimes is that we think if we don't know it, we have to find it out on our own. And the body of Christ was never meant to function that way. Jesus himself gave some to be apostles, some to be a prophet, some to be evangelists, some to be pastors, some to be teachers, so that the body could be built up. So you can't afford these commentaries. I guarantee you your church can. I guarantee you somebody at your church can. If it's your pastor, if it's your discipleship pastor, if it's a seminary friend, if someone has access. And so you can you can do what I do. Like I would ask my dad sometimes, he was a pastor. Hey, Dad, can you send me, and this is back before the internet, can you photocopy the page on such and such from this commentary and send it to me? And he would send it to me in the mail. Like the whole point is there are people in your life that can get this information to you. You just need to ask. And that's what Jesus wants of his body. He doesn't want Bible study to be an independent exercise. He wants Bible study to be a body exercise, communities, reading together, discussing, sharing, interacting. So we got to watch the episode we did way back with Drew Johnson, where we talked about quiet time and the idea that Christians have sort of venerated, Protestants at least, have venerated quiet time to this level of a sacrament, basically, and realize that's not what God intended. He knows that you don't know scholarly stuff. He still wants you to be able to have access to those he has called to be teachers. And so this Disciple Dojo is one of those places. Richard Middleton's website is one of those. Carmen Imes is doing that, like YouTubers that are doing stuff out there. Mark Ward doing his thing. There's a wealth of information. It just takes some initiative on the part, of the lay person. So, yeah. Okay. Gregory, let's do these three. We're ready?
Yep.